Good morning, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. Raspy voice Grandpa coming to you from the living room in beautiful downtown Jacksonville Beach. Hopefully, my voice will get through all this, but hey, we do what we can do. And I'm wearing my Arlo's third birthday shirt. Although I'll still have this shirt probably when your 23rd birthday comes around. What I'll probably do when you're a teenager is embarrass you by wearing it on your birthday. So today, I'm going to talk about how to pick a political candidate. There are always elections going on all over the world. Elections for local offices, county offices, state offices, and um, national offices. Different things have different terms. So the mayor of Jacksonville, I don't know, they might get 4 years or 3 years. So every 3 years you have to pick a new person. Senators, senators are 6 years. U.S. senators. I don't know what the state senators are. But around the world, there's you go to a third world country. Excuse me. They're always in the middle of an election cycle. And some of them, the people actually get to vote. And some of them, it's like they tell them that they're voting, but as a famous ex-president once said, it's not who casts the vote that counts, it's who counts the vote. So I want to talk to you about the pro wrestling business model. You guys, little guys, have probably never seen pro wrestling. Frank, I'm sure you have. But it's a quote unquote sport where everybody knows the outcome before the thing starts. There's a script, and the people follow it, and they pretend that they're having this wrestling match, which sometimes involves groups of people wrestling with each other and throwing each other out of the ring, and hitting each other with chairs, but nobody ever gets hurt. Like in real sports, people get hurt. But these guys are, well, they're athletes, but they're not playing a sport. It's theater. And people believe it because they want to believe it. I had a very good friend who I worked with. She was my original on-the-job instructor when I started with the IRS. She was a huge wrestling fan. And I said, like, well, you know, it's fake. She said, oh, yeah, I know it's fake, but I love it. And then she would waver off that and go, well, you know, it's not really fake. When you say fake, and she could justify this, and she was a very intelligent woman. People believe what they want to believe. Well, what's this have to do with politics? On pro wrestling, also, let me do this before I segue off. Also in pro wrestling, there's all this bravado. There's all these people screaming at each other, I'm going to kill you. You know, if I see you walking down the street, I'm going to kill you. And it happens in pro boxing and in mixed martial arts where people talk crap to each other. They try to get in the other person's head. But in pro wrestling, it's over the top. You know, the most famous pro wrestlers, when you Google them or go on YouTube and see, what they're all about. They're all about screaming like, yeah, I'm the toughest guy in the world, yeah, and I hate you, and I'm gonna kick your butt. But they were all on the same team. They were on the, hey, we want to make money doing this. So they weren't really angry at each other. In fact, some of them liked each other. It was like working at any other company, except in this company, instead of, hey, we're going to sing Kumbaya and we're all going to get together, it's like, well, we're going to sing Kumbaya, but before we do that, we need to make money. So you need to act like you're very angry at each other. If there's a business model for politics, especially here in the United States, it's that same thing. I'm not going to get into whether people steal elections. There have been allegations back to John F. Kennedy in 1960 that his father influenced the election. There's the last four elections, I guess it would be, since 2016, people have been saying the election was stolen. There was influence on the election that caused the results to be that who the people wanted didn't actually get in on both sides. So 2016, Trump, 2020, Biden. The other side said, no, this is, the fix was in. It was stolen. But these guys go to the same restaurants, Republicans and Democrats. Behind the scenes, they're very nice to each other. And kind of work together to get things done. But everybody kind of knows the outcome. Back in 1964, Lyndon Johnson ran for president. Now, he was vice president under Kennedy and he got shot. Kennedy got shot and killed. And so Johnson became the president. Then in 1964, he ran for president. And he had this famous saying, what do you want, guns or butter? In other words, you have these resources. What do you want to spend them on? We only take in so much tax dollars. Do you want us to build a large military and go around the world and start wars? Or do you want to feed the hungry? And he won. He beat a guy named Goldwater, and Goldwater was seen as very aggressive on the world scene, that he wanted to start wars and do that stuff. So those guys were, hey, I hate you, like pro wrestling type smackdowns against each other over this issue. It's never that simple. It's not about guns or butter. It's about the amount of freedom you get. But this is not to tell you what to believe. It's to tell you how to think. So I'm not going to get into my political leanings. Well, I'll try to keep them out as much as possible. What we have now, and probably had back then, I haven't researched it that much, is, well, we don't have to decide between guns and butter. Guns or butter. The rich can have both. there are a few wealthy individuals in the United States that control the largest corporations. They fund the candidates. I'll give you an example. In 2008, the, the people that were supporting Barack Obama gave 60% to Obama. Everybody knew Obama was going to win. First black president, it was time. Charismatic speaker, and he sold himself very well. He was going against a guy named John McCain, who was a lifelong politician. He was a war hero and stuff like that, probably a pretty nice man. And there was a possibility that he could win. So the same people that were giving Obama 60% were giving John McCain 40%. So we know you could win, but we think the other guy's going to win. Why would they do that? Well, those corporations are in the pharmacy industry. They're in the military. Just put that thumbs up there. They're in the military industrial complex. The people who build the war machine. And right now, we're fighting all over the world. We're now bombing, I think we bombed these Houthis, which nobody ever heard of 6 months ago. We bombed them in Jordan and Syria, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. We're tenuously, well, let's put it this way. We're in a proxy war with Iran, and there's a good possibility eventually we'll have boots in the ground there. There's a war in Israel going on. There's this sham war going on over in Ukraine. And Ukraine's thousands of miles away from us. They're fighting another country called Russia. And if we don't think about it on the East Coast this way, but Russia borders on us. The only thing in between us and Russia is the Bering Straits. It's fairly remote up there, but we bought Alaska from Russia. So these corporations fund the campaigns so that when they want to, roll out a new drug, they can write the legislation. The war machine, and it's big pharma, big military, big food, guns and butter. There it is, guns and butter. These big food companies need to be able to feed us efficiently because they want to make money. And trust me, I'm a capitalist. I want them to make money, but I also don't want to put crap into my body. And so they can pass legislation because the politicians, when they get elected, they don't write the legislation. These people called lobbyists give it to them and say, hey, this is what your donors want. This is what the legislation should say. So, and when they write the legislation, just remember, and I say this in a lot of these videos, cui bono fuit. It's Latin. Who stands to benefit? They stand to benefit. They're going to write legislation that makes them make a lot of money, and it may or may not be good for you. So, what can you do about this? Well, and this is counterintuitive. Vote for the party, not the candidate. And the reason I say that is that candidates will say anything to get elected. But then after they get elected and they start to govern, they're going to go back to what the party stands for and what their donors tell them. So that's a fight that we have all the time. These people have a lot of power. Should they have that much power? See, we fought a revolutionary war against the British, which was our government, and we separated from them and formed our own government because we believed that their government was too intrusive in our lives. So we set up a constitutional republic that would limit the power of government. But now the government has a ton of power. So anyway, when I say vote for the party, not the candidate, you may ask this question: where do the parties stand on the big issues? Well, here are the big issues, and I picked 10 of them: abortion, climate, crime, and it's in alphabetical order. I didn't say, oh, this is the most important. Abortion, climate, crime, the economy, education, foreign policy, healthcare, immigration, social services, and taxes. Good old taxes. So, let's look at 4 parties. We're going to look at the Democrat Party, the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party, which I'm a member of, and that's who I vote for, and the Green Party. The Libertarians and Greens win local elections. They win a few local elections. And they even sometimes get somebody in Congress. But not quite often. They're seen as fringe parties. But you should vote for what you believe in. Not who you believe in, what you believe in. So let's look at these 10 things. Abortion. Democrats are for abortion. Republicans, for the most part, are anti-abortion. Now, you'll find occasionally an anti-abortion Democrat. There was a Pennsylvania governor for a while. I forget his name. Might have been Casey, back when I was younger, and he was against abortion. And you'll find pro-abortion Republicans. You'll find a lot more pro-abortion Republicans than anti-abortion Democrats. Libertarian is left up to the individual what they believe. I believe that it's the taking of a life. So if you take that life just wantonly and go, okay, everybody can get an abortion, but why are you getting it? Because you're taking the life of that child. But I'm not here to convince you that. There are some people there are a lot of pro-abortion libertarians. There's probably far more of them, but there are some prominent anti-abortion libertarians like the Pauls. Ron Paul, who's a former U.S. representative, and then his son Rand Paul, who's currently in the Senate from the state of Kentucky. And the Green Party is pro-abortion. So climate. There are a lot of people in the world today that believe that the world is causing the climate to change. The Democrats believe that. And they believe that you need more government intervention to ameliorate that. The Republicans, some believe in man-made global warming and some don't believe in it. So there's all different viewpoints on that. The libertarians believe in free market solutions. They believe that the market will work it out. I could do a whole, probably 2-hour video on this, so I'm just going to go on. And the Green Party believes that government needs to take over certain industries. So the Green Party is essentially a socialist party, although I don't believe they call themselves socialists. But if you take over an industry, if the government takes over an industry, that's socialism. Crime. Crime's an interesting one because crime is most crime, especially violent crime, happens at the local level. So it's a local issue, but it filters up, and then we fund programs that are supposed to help, quell the crime problems in big cities and things like that. So it does get into the national sphere. And Democrats believe, and to back up a second, this is about how to vote, so it's in any election, not just in the national elections. So if you're voting for mayor, then their stance on crime is probably going to weigh more on your decision than if it's the vote for president. Although presidents run on, being tough on crime. But the Democrat Party believes that you need less police officers and more social services. The Republicans historically have believed in more cops. Libertarians believe this is a state and local issue, so the state and local governments are better suited to solve the problem. So instead of taxing the people at the national level and then deciding where to send the funds, to solve a state and local problem, it's like, well, why not just let the local and state governments fund themselves? It seems more efficient. So that's where they believe. we believe, full disclosure. And the Green Party is a lot like the Democrats, less cops, more social services. The economy, and I just did a video on 5 economic principles. I'll link at the end of this one to that one, in case you missed it, guys. The Democrats believe that government should provide the source of jobs. And so that's pretty socialist. If you look up the definition of socialism, that's more part of the definition. A lot of people working for the government, not working for themselves. The Republicans are a hybrid, what I call semi-fascist. Now, the term fascist has a connotation of evil capitalists, but they're not really. Capitalists, true capitalists, classical liberals, believe in laissez-faire. No government intervention in the markets. But it's easy to make money when the government's tipping the scale, when they have their thumb on the scale. And so you have these people writing the legislation, and it's saying, okay, well, this industry, we're gonna help them, they're gonna make money, and then we're gonna benefit from that. So it's a hybrid. Republicans often say that they're for capitalism, but it really is a semi-fascism, that it's government working closely with business. And we see that with Amazon and companies like that. They have cloud accounts with all these government agencies worth billions of dollars. Well, they need the storage space. I think they should be a lot smaller, so they wouldn't need all that storage space. But they've sold that we need all this, we need these contracts with all these companies. So it's government working hand in hand with business, as opposed to more government jobs. And I'm not ragging on the Republicans, but here's laissez-faire. It's like, let it be. Let it be. Let the economy work itself out. Let people produce jobs by starting businesses, by inventing things. That's what we believe. Once again, the Green Party is like the Democrats, more government jobs. So the government in charge of the economy, and that's the Democrats and the Greens, and the Republicans are the government in bed with the major corporations. Education. The Democrats believe that education should be federally driven, nationally driven, top down. You don't go to school in Washington. You go to school where you are. So Republicans believe it should be locally driven. You go to school in Hancock's Bridge should figure out what you're going to learn. libertarians agree with the Republicans. It should be locally driven. And once again, the Greens are with the Democrats. It should be nationally driven. You can look up these, they're called party platforms on on the internet. Just Google it, like Green Party platform. You have to pick what year. We have an election cycle coming up, 2024. We're going to have national, state, and local elections in November. So they'll be going to these conventions and hammering out the planks on their platform. And so these are 10 planks here that we're talking about, but there'll be more than that. And then they publish that, so you can find out every time. You can do this research and find out what these parties stand for, and then vote based on what you believe. You always want to have a voice. Okay, foreign policy. So this is how we get along with other countries, and whether we shake hands and play nice in the sandbox with them, or beat them up and steal their candy. So the Democrats, and I'm being a little snarky here, their plan is to drop small bombs, targeted attacks around the world to take out enemies. I'm not going to get into this too far. The Republicans want to drop big bombs. They're all about, like, oh, there's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Let's go over and take over the country. That didn't work out well. It never does. Small bombs and big bombs don't work out. Libertarians, the person that we look back to is Thomas Jefferson. He, fought the Barbary pirates, but he tried not to. He tried to negotiate with them. So you can always talk some more. And even when the bombs start, you should always be talking. Right now in Ukraine, they're not even talking. It's like, no, we're going to win. No, we're going to win. And yeah, now everybody's going to lose. There's displaced Ukrainians all over the world. There have been hundreds of thousands of young people that have lost their lives in the military and civilians. The infrastructure is all messed up. Why? Now, the Green Party wants to ban bombs. Healthcare. This has been a big one for a while. The Democrat Party is into Obamacare. Barack Obama passed this legislation, but it was with a very slim majority, and it immediately caused the Republicans to win the next election, and so they stripped it of a lot of its power. So we don't know if it has any chance of being good or bad, because it's never had a chance. And I'm not saying that we should give it a chance, but it never has had a chance, to show what it can do. The Republican Party is this, once again, is the semi-fascist hybrid, where big medical, the AMA, and big pharma like Pfizer, and big insurance, health insurance, they figure out how they can make a lot of money, and the politicians can make a lot of money. And trust me, I'm not saying Republicans are all about making money for themselves and Democrats aren't. No, they'll still use the guns and butter. Like the Democrats are like, yeah, we're the butter people, and the Republicans are we're the guns people. But they're both about making money. And I'm sure some libertarians and Greens. It's just that there aren't that many in power, so you don't know what they're going to do. They're not governing. I'm sure they'll be just as bad once they get in. Libertarians, once again, laissez-faire, free market solutions to healthcare, try to drive the prices down by competition. Doctors have to compete for your dollar. I'm going to give you the best care at the cheapest price. The Green Party, and this is once again socialism, and I'm not saying whether that's good or bad. I'm trying not to. They want single payer, universal, cradle to grave, government provided insurance. Immigration, which is a big one right now. The Democrat Party is for open borders. The Republican Party is for closed borders. At least they say they are. Like the Democrat Party really is for open borders. But the Republican platform is for closed borders. Trump started building a wall across the southern United States and the border with Mexico to keep people out. But cheap labor comes across from other countries, and so the big businesses want that cheap labor. They don't have to outsource to China if they can bring a bunch of Chinese people here that are willing to work for next to nothing. Libertarians believe that we should get rid of the welfare state. See, people come over here when my ancestors and all of some of your ancestors, they came over in slavery. So this doesn't involve that, and others of your ancestors came here pretty recently, but probably didn't get much of any assistance. But back in the day, like the early 1900s and before that, you showed up here with what you had in your pocket. It was usually very little, and then you had to make your way here. And if you became poor, you became poor. But now, when immigrants get here, we give them some public assistance and things like that. Libertarians don't believe in public assistance. They believe that society should assist their own, not the government. That you don't take the money from the people and then give it out the way you see fit. You just let people keep the money. And so they believe in open borders. Like anybody should be able to come in and out of here. But when you get here, the only thing that's promised is that you're going to starve if you don't work hard. So that's what we believe. And the Green Party believes in open borders. Social services. So this is, the things that I was just talking about. People come here and they get social services. Well, people here get social services. Right now I'm on Medicare and and I'm on Social Security. I've paid into both of those throughout my career, and now I'm retired, so I get to enjoy the benefit of that. But there's all kinds of things. There's unemployment insurance and there's welfare. Now, unemployment insurance you pay for. It's usually like at the state level, although there's a federal factor in that. And and um, and then if you get laid off, you can collect for a certain amount of time, so you don't starve, so your family doesn't starve. But then there's welfare, which is, hey, this person doesn't have anything, so it's like we, the collective we, pay for welfare from our taxes. So Democrats want a comprehensive social services system. Republicans talk about something called the safety net, which is we're going to limit social services, but if someone has some crippling disease that takes them out of the workplace and causes them to not be able to provide for their family, that will provide a living for them. So that's the safety net. By safety net, they're talking about like when somebody walks on a tightrope. The really, really good tightrope walkers don't work with a net. So if they fall, they're going to die. Some dude tight walked across, I think, the Grand Canyon, one of those enormous fissures in the earth, and without a net, and made it. But if you have a net, then you can fall. So they believe in that. Once again, libertarians believe in free market solutions. You're not provided anything by the government, and so in theory, you have more. When you go to work, you don't have a third of your pay coming out in taxes. So you have that money. You can save for your retirement. The libertarians want to do away with Medicare and Social Security. And I vote for that every time, because I'm not voting for me. I'm voting for the next generation. I'm voting so you guys will have a chance to build a future for yourselves. But it's not, I mean, we're in the United States. It's not like they're going to go, okay, tomorrow welfare's over. Tomorrow Medicare's over. All these things, when they talk about legislation, it's about phasing them out so that you're not paying into it. You're able to provide your own safety net, save money, invest in things, so that, a generation or so down the line, a couple generations, that they'll be phased out. The Green Party also believes in the safety net. And last but certainly not least, taxes. Near and dear to my heart after 28 years at the IRS. The Democrats are for high taxes. The Republicans are for pretty high taxes. The Libertarians are for very low taxes. And once again, the Greens are with the Democrats. They're for high taxes. So, there's a couple of these parties that I didn't talk about. One in particular is something called the No Labels Party, which is a splinter party. It's made up of, I think, both Democrats and Republicans. I know Democrats are in it. There's some Democrats who don't agree with Biden on a lot of his policies, And so they're talking about a third party run. They have not had a convention yet. So it's called the No Labels Party. And we don't know what their platform is. There's a man named Manchin, who's a senator from West Virginia, who's possibly going to run for president under this party label. But this happens from time to time where there's these splinter groups that say, okay, now we're going to be a new party. It's happened all through the history of the United States, but we just don't know yet. You know, maybe Manchin will be president. I doubt it. Maybe he will. We normally have two parties running against each other, so um, it's easy to figure out the winner. But when every once in a while you'll have somebody, like there was a guy named Ross Perot that ran and got like 5 to 10% of the vote and took it away from George H.W. Bush, who was the dad, not the son. And so Bill Clinton won. There's a lot of people that thought, well, more people really wanted um, George Bush than wanted Clinton, but some of those people were like, nah, I want this third guy. But if he wasn't in it, that George Bush would have won. Well, hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles. So that's why we have things like the Electoral College and things about election integrity in place. So at least we believe that we're having a fair election, and that sometimes things happen. Sometimes the most popular person doesn't win. And neither do we want, I mean, we're a republic. We're not a democracy. We're a democratic republic. So we have elections, but the republic governs. The people don't govern. This is not direct rule of the people. They had that in parts of Greece a long time ago. And what happens is people vote themselves, all kinds of goodies, and they vote horrible things for their enemies. So we don't want that. Our government, the way it's set up, is set up so that doesn't happen. Anyway, peace out. There go the balloons.